right, welcome to part 3 of writing an uplifting and triumphant commercial. And the reason why we're laughing is because we actually already did a part 3 and it took us about 25-30 minutes because my computer kept having issues today, and it was thinking too hard on the little tasks I was giving, and we tried a few things. It was good to kind of walk through. I didn't want to put you through the pain, but just a couple of lessons from the last 30 minutes, summarize it into 30 seconds, is, it happens to everybody, all the stuff happens, and what I want to do is just keep moving forward. And what it ended up being is looks like it was just need to restart the computer. And so the next thing I was thinking as the computer was restarting was I bought a new plugin yesterday. And so I was thinking to myself, interesting, that it's playing up now. But it wasn't playing up this morning, and I was working on a session for about, 45 minutes. So obviously it just needed a restart, and so yeah, hopefully it's fixed. So let's keep diving in. And I haven't done too much. I'll just catch you up on what I have done. I added a drum. I found a kick drum that I like. This one here. So I liked that, and I muted this other one that's a little bit more aggressive. But then the aggressive one comes in a little later. So that's all I've done. And then now I've added this snare because I wanted to get a really big snare sound. So I've just added this snare here that came from here, and I just you add it to the MIDI and just drag it down to a stereo audio file, and it comes up right there. So super easy. Now I'm just going to put a ton of reverb on this to make it sound really big. So let's go to a reverb. Let's go to the Valhalla. I'm a big Valhalla fan. Vintage verb. I'm just going to try and get a big crack out of this. That might sound cool, and I'll just put it every now and then to echo the snare when it comes in. So that's a good spot for it. Might just copy all that. All right, one more little trick. I'm going to do a little reverse on these. Something that sounds really cool is when you grab one of these and then you reverse it. So I was thinking of adding the reverb to it, but I think I'm just going to just reverse and see what that sounds like. So just reverse, and then you put it. This is a cool little trick. just going to put that to the grid so I know where it comes in. Those are really cool. I'm just going to do one every few measures. Might be too much. And these are a little late. I'm going to see how they're not on the grid, so something must have happened over here that made them off the grid. I know it's a bit of reverb. Let's just make sure those are... All these little tiny details really do add up, and the more fine-tuned someone's ear is when you're sending it to a listening session, they can pick up stuff like this. So if you can pick it up, then you're becoming more pro. Yeah, that's right. It's a little bit crisper when it's over here, right? So I think I'm okay with those drums. Let's keep going on with the other elements. Let's just clean it up a little bit too. Some of these snares, I don't need any low stuff in it. So let's just make sure we don't have any lows in any of those snares. So a little bit of these reverse cymbals. Let's put a little bit of do my low cuts on it. High pass filters. Put a little bit of reverb on those. So I just use the same reverb. This is all going to the same place, which is down here. And I have a reverb set up here. So let's make sure we turn it on. It's in my Valhalla reverb again. Big fan of this reverb. It's really, really nice. Been using it for a while. It's nice. I'm just going to send a little bit of reverb to that. Let's see if that's enough. That's enough. I'm going to do something else that no, I'm not. I'm going to set up. I was going to put a shimmer on this actual channel, but I think I'm actually going to send it to a shimmer. So I'm actually going to create another auxiliary. Actually, I don't think I'm going to use the delay. I'll just retitle that. And put the shimmer there, and then I'll send a little bit to there. Now I have a favorite setting that I just dials in and works really well for that sound that I want. So this is what the pad's going to do. Send a little bit of shimmer, send it to the shimmer. You guys hear the little difference? It's very subtle, but it's a small little bit where this is on and off. It just has this airy shimmer to it. We're only thinking about the pad. We're only listening to the pad. Yeah, it's nice. So after the shimmer, this is another thing I'm going to do. If you haven't done this before, this is really cool. From the shimmer, I'm going to send it to the reverb again. So then the reverb's going to get a little bit of the shimmer sound going through the reverb. It's kind of almost looping it a little bit. So I'm actually going to on the audio, I'm going to pull that kick down a little bit just during that first part because I want it even softer. Pull down these palm muted guitars a little bit. I might even do a little bit of a instead of pulling them down, actually I'm just going to do another automation thing where I'm actually going to slowly kind of fade them up, and this is just a simple quick way to do automation. I pull it down like that and just get rid of one of them, and it's like a gradual rise because I want this song to constantly keep building. Let's hear this out. right, so what I was doing there, I had all my plugins kind of turned off just to save CPU, and I realized that I've got to turn them back on. And you noticed how everything just got bigger and bigger and bigger is because I've got all of these are already set up as to do that. Like on my drums, I have a comp that's ready to go, and you're just increasing the sound. So it's important to mix, I think, with all of these on. And I also have my mastering chain on, which sometimes I have to back it off a lot or turn them off if it's working too hard. But I like to hear how it would sound finished. Like I want it to be as close as finished when I'm making little tweaks. And some people prefer to do it all in those steps, but I prefer to do it all in one big thing. I want to hear what it sounds like as a record, and then I'll be like, oh, I need to turn things up or down. So that's why everything's turned back on. So let's keep going. Let's have a listen to these strings. You'll see that the strings that I'm using, they default and they start at the volume on the output of the string starts at -6. And I'm trying to get as loud as I can throughout the track. So it's kind of gain staging. I'm turning things up. So I just want to turn them up, and then I might turn them down on the channels. And I think overall, I think the strings might be a bit loud. They're at 0. Usually that's a bit down, a little bit lower. So I haven't done much automation, any articulations on any of these strings. I'm going to see if I can kind of get away without doing as much, and I'm going to pull the strings down a little bit more, because the main feature of this song or this track is going to be that piano. It's going to be that piano moving throughout, and then so the strings I'm going to kind of wash in a bit of verb, and I'm going to kind of pull them back a little bit. They're not going to be as prevalent, but we'll see as they get. If I'm starting to hear it and I'm like, yeah, you gotta do some more articulations on that. Then I'll go and dive into it. So let's have a listen. Should be on the strings as well. So at the moment, where's my strings? At the moment, the pad and the strings are competing just a little bit. I'm going to pull them down there because it's the same kind of sounds. It's a very kind of, it's the same kind of sound. So they're kind of competing. So I'm going to have to kind of pick and choose, or turn one down or turn one up. I might have to do those just I might just do that with the cello there. So let's see if we can read that in. I haven't done this in a while. Let's see if this works. I might have to CC it to I'm seeing if I can oh, no more beach balls. Come on. Mm-mm. I'm not having a good day here. Let's see if maybe you'll snap out of it. It doesn't want to work hard today. Spitfire strings is a little heavier. It's not too bad, but it is a little bit on the heavier side um, for your computer. So my computer is telling me, I think it's telling me it needs a bigger one, something new. I think this is a 2020 Mac Mini, but I know I got a lot of stuff on it, so it's probably telling me that it's too much. Hmm. All right. Gosh, guys, you guys are really patient to hang out here with me as I'm pulling my hair out here. Um, all right, we start again. I might have to just simplify things and just not do any as much hard stuff. And what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably not going to worry about the articulations for that cello. I think I'm going to swap it out for another cello that sounds good straight out of the box, so you don't have to do as much. And then I'll do that, and then we'll kind of just keep kind of wrap up and see how we can um, kind of wrap up the song, get it as close as we can. All right, so let's see here. All right, session backups. See if we didn't lose anything. The last one, it auto saved at 6:01 and it's 6:05, so we lost about 4 minutes. Not too bad. It's probably just all that messing around with the articulation anyway. So what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to go in and do any articulation, that's made the decision for me. I'm going to pull down the strings a little bit and turn up that pad a little bit more. So that's made the decision easier. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Gary said you bought it, but you haven't downloaded them. Yep, I know. Sometimes when you buy some of this stuff, it's like, well, they didn't tell me I now need to buy another hard drive. But that's how it goes, I guess. We thought like, a while ago, we thought, I'll, 100 gigabytes. That's awesome, and then 1 terabyte would be like, are you kidding me? Why would anyone need that? And now it's like 1 terabyte is like standard. It's like, it's crazy. All right, so we didn't lose anything, looks like. Let me share my screen. All right, so I'm going to, hopefully you can hear that. So I'm going to replace that cello with another cello that it works really good out of the box. It's not as many cellos, but it's been a go-to for a while, and I really like it. It's just one cello. It's called Emotional Cello. These ones, Chris Hines got some really cool stuff. But I really like this Emotional Cello, and out of the box, it sounds really good, especially on this little preset here on the Proud Vibrato. Let's do that, and then you also have to make sure you trigger that. The reason I'm doing this little note down here is to trigger this setting here. I want it on Proud Vibrato. There we go. So it's not going to play any notes. It's just the key. Triggering the wrong one. Hang on. We're going to save it back to the proper title. So I'm going to do another fade of these guitars here as well. These are a little bit more heavier. I'm going to do more of a fade up as well. Okay, so we're not getting any of that. Oh dear. Why isn't that working now? All right, so for some reason, this Omnisphere has decided to not work. And I don't know what's going on today, but I got gremlins because it's not even working. No, see, I don't know. It's deciding not to turn on. So we're just going to keep going on. I got no pads, I guess, but I'm going to come back to it, I think. We'll do a first mix today, and then I'm going to come back to this mix and see if it actually works with those strings and see what the deal is with the pads, why they're not working. I did install a new plugin yesterday, so by IK Multimedia. So it came with a free plugin. So interesting. So I'm gonna have to look at that. Let me try something. Omnisphere is a pretty heavy plugin. So not playing. So I just duplicated that track. I'm actually going to try another synth. I'm just going to try maybe a bit more of a simple synth. I think Nexus is a little bit, it's not as intensive. It's not as heavy on the CPUs. Let's see if I can find just a nice pad for that. See what comes up here. Let's do that one. Let's see if that goes. Doing now is I'm just going to just doing some little tweaks on different sounds that I'm hearing. But one of the things is that piano was a bit too aggressive. It's like dun, 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 dun. And so I want to soften that up a little bit. And it could be I played it pretty heavy, so the velocity might be pretty hard on the dun 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 dun. So I'm just going to try and I'm pulling it down a little bit just to see if that works. And then I'm going through the buses now just to make sure everything's kind of that those one of my favorite bus compressors that it actually is working, that it's kind of turned on and it's actually hitting the frequencies. Then we'll have a look at if we don't want to do too much. You don't want more than -3 is kind of my magic number. So I'm just kind of making sure everything's kind of, even if it's just touching, at least working, at least it's working. one thing we're going to do here is we're just going to highlight everything and we're going to pull the velocity down of everything. Just by about 7. See if it's a bit softer. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty catchy and it does the same thing over and over again. So yeah, it's very repetitive. You know, it works as you build because it's constantly keeps building. All right, let's keep going through here. Let me. So there's one note here I don't like. This is the beauty of going into, as I'm mixing, because I have access to the actual session, I can actually go in and manually turn these last notes down. They sound a bit weird on the electric guitar where it's like. Dun. There's even a pop there, actually. I need to fade that. But those need to come down, so they're not as obvious. These little high notes up here. All right, so that shimmer goes on for a while, so let's do a little fade at the end there. The strings go. Those guys go way too long, so let's pull them down. notes. What is that? There's a reverb going forever. Where is that? It might be these guys here. A lot of people don't realize that the ending is where you really can polish off the song. It can really sound whether you just didn't spend the time or you did spend the time just to really make those smooth endings. Yep, that's what I want. And I want that piano fading out just a little bit longer than the others, but not that long. Where's my piano? Now the bass. Yes, I like that. All right, cool. Got the ending. So let's just keep completing this out. No acoustic guitar in this song. Okay, so now let's go to the mix bus. Let me show you something that's really, really cool. It's a plugin I just recently got, but I absolutely love it. It's so smooth. It's just a really nice plugin. It's by Final Mix Software, and I think it's like 19 bucks, but it's really, really smooth. And I like to put this on the mix bus. So this is on the very last part of the mixing. So this is on the very last mix part. So the first thing I do is put a little air shelf on it around that 1 dB. Let's have a listen. Go to the bigger part of the song. A little extra sparkle there. Did you guys hear it when I unmuted it? It's like, here's with it on, with it out it, and then with it on. It adds like a 1%. It's so nice. It's just very smooth. I'm jumping into a quick little master. We've been kind of running through a mastering chain that I've had set up already. If you noticed, I haven't really changed much. This is a Steve's Light mastering. It's something that I just it works for so many tracks, and it's very light. I'm hardly doing anything with these. And sometimes these EQs, sometimes these plugins also have a sound or a color to them that sounds really nice. So again, it's been running through the mastering chain the whole time. So we haven't so now we're just really tweaking or maybe backing things off, or but so we're not going to be doing too much with mastering. But the first thing I do is a little bit of a compressor. This is a really nice Piag Child compressor, is really nice. Yeah, so this one's really nice, and I don't do too much. Just turn the threshold up, so it's just kind of kissing the meter a little bit, just getting a little bit. Just running it through that. It's a really nice compressor. The back EQ, as I said, I'm just cutting out 12 kilohertz and down, so something is, you can't even really hear that, but I'm just cutting it out, and I'm cutting from 70 and just adding a tiny little boost at 7.1. These are very musical frequencies, and I'm adding, does it even say, I guess that's 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm adding half a dB, so really nothing. And I'm turning it up a little bit. So I'm just pushing my levels all the time. So I'm turning this up by 1.5 dB. So that's all this does. And it's just other than the volume, it's not really doing too much that you'll hear. There's a little bit of that a little bit of the 7.1K shelf put in there to make it a little bit brighter, but not much is going into that. It's just a nice little EQ. I'm cutting off that super low stuff. The Amex is a really cool EQ, MS processing. I've got the mono maker going, which makes everything below 124. I don't know if that's a bit too small for you guys to see, but everything below 121 will go to the center. So it'll be going through the center, which really gives everything a lot more punch. This is really cool. The Mono Maker is really cool. You can get it in many of their plugins by Plugin Alliance, but the Mono Maker is really cool. You can get them in, it comes attached to a lot of you can, not use it or use it. And then I don't add much. I add half a dB of around 8K just to brighten it up on the sides. And on the mid, I'm taking out a little bit of 1.2 dB around 11K in the middle. So 11K in the middle is going to be gone. It's going to be dipped a little bit in the middle. So I think that's all I'm doing on this, but it's noticeable. Hear the difference. There again, I'm adding 1.4 dB as well. So you might notice that. And then this is a harmonic distortion. So I'm adding a little bit of harmonic distortion in there as well, which is a nice feature. So you might be hearing that as well when I bypass it. And this is a great plugin I've had for a while. This is like a $10,000 hardware piece of equipment. If you bought the hardware, it's a really, really nice compressor, really, really nice, well made. I wonder if this has a mono maker as well. There, it has a mono maker on this as well. It's set to off, obviously, because I'm not using it. But as I said, a lot of Brainworks, the plugin by the Plugin Alliance Corporation, they have that mono maker. So you only need one of them, but you got to get that mono maker if you don't have it. And but here, all I'm doing here, I know this has got many fancy knobs. Again, I took the time to set a preset of my own. Steve start with the nickel press. So I think Steve start is steel. It might be. Let's just see what. No, it's on the nickel as well, but a few different other settings. So I don't want to go too much more than -1 dB. I just want it to kind of hit and touch it a little bit. bounce it down, I'm just going to drop that the first thumps when they first come in, the kicks, it's still not quite to my. I might end up going back and changing that again on that after I listen to the first mix. Let's just have a listen. Yep, I like it. So let's do the first part of the mastering, which is we're going to make sure our end is right and the beginning. Yeah, I'm happy with that. One little last thing I'm going to do a fade or an automation on that pad to come in a little bit softer and then get bigger throughout the song. So let's do it from, where's that next part? So from there, we're just going to turn it down a little bit and do this slow fade. I don't know if you guys also heard that. There's a couple of notes there that are really loud. Yep, so I think that's good. All right, so let's see what that sounds like from the bounce. All right, cool. I'm happy with that. Yeah, let's bounce this one. Oh, now a title. Oh, always get to the title part. We're going to call this, we're thinking commercial. We're thinking it uplifts, it builds, maybe triumphant. Gosh, I'm thinking triumphant product or best product, or you kind of product in there, but it's maybe completion or something. Maybe I don't know, triumphant rise. I don't know. It's not the best title, but it triumphant rise. Triumphant. What's another word for rise, guys? So what's another word I could use for rise? Triumphant, build, triumphant. Rise will go, but if I can find something a little deeper, Ascend. I'm liking that. Triumphant Ascend. That's good. I like that. So it's better than Rise. So what I would do is just go into a thesaurus and be like, type up Rise and be like, what's another couple other words for Rise? Ascension, yeah, Ascend. I like those. Those are great. I might even just go with Ascend. I think that's nice and easy. Triumphant Climb. I like that too. It's a little bit more simple too. Triumphant Climb. Yeah, I'm just going to go with Triumphant Ascend. Rising Tide. These titles are getting good now. So I think you guys are gonna have to save them for your own, because Rising Tides is a good one. Rising Tide, the only thing about Rising Tide is it's maybe too universal. And so coming back to the word triumphant is a very commercial kind of word. You see that in briefs all the time, triumphant. So if you do triumphant Rising Tide, that could be cool. I'm just going to go simple with Triumphant Ascend, and then you guys can keep the other titles. Let's save it and bounce it. Of course, we can change it to oops. Gosh, now I can't think. Ascend. Triumphant Ascend. Ascend. Now I'm going blank now. All right, so yeah, we'll bounce this one down. Let's put it in the right folder. There we go. Bouncing down. Cool, guys. Well, there you go. So that's a wrap for that song. Of course, with all of my mixes that I do, I will listen to it again tomorrow, and I got a good feeling. There's so many things went wrong in this session. So I got a feeling that I might have to tweak a few more things. But at the end of the day, when you do press it, when you push through and you press bounce, tomorrow you come back and you're not as attached to it. You're just an extra day away from being so attached to it. And you listen to it more as a whole, with fresh ears as a whole. And then you're like, it's maybe I might fix some stuff, or maybe I'll be like, you know what, let's just go into that next one. It works. No one's going to know the little decisions that, apart from everyone watching this, like no music supervisor are going to know the amount of hair we pulled out just trying to get this working with all the little issues. No one's going to know that, and no one's going to know the decisions that were forced upon us, like changing those pads, and they're just going to take it as it is. And that's what happens when we listen to it with fresh ears the next day. When I first started, I would do like maybe 2 or 3 days, meaning I would tell myself, it's going to take you 3 days to mix this. You do that bounce, get it down, get it out of the day, get it out of the way, and then you come back tomorrow with fresh ears and you do 1 or 2 tweaks, and you just do the mix too. Whatever you need, you do one fresh listen, and you're like, oh, the drums are too loud, I need to change that snare, and you go in, and it only takes you 15 minutes to tweak a few things, bounce it again, and then you do it the next day. And then by the second and third day, you're really getting polished in on a mix. And that's the same way that a music supervisor or a library is going to listen to your piece of music. They're going to listen just like you did on that second day, third day, and fourth day. They're going to listen with those kind of ears. And so awesome, guys. Well, thank you for being so patient and hanging out and going through all that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it helps you guys a little bit to know that when you're going through stuff and your computer's not working, everything's falling apart, it happens to everyone. It happens all the time. I've been in big studios and it happens too. So it's you don't want it to happen, and it's kind of a little bit like, oh, I'm ready to just, like Gary said, I'm ready to just throw something out the computer or throw the computer. But
Steve, can I ask you just one question on the ABC format we talked about?
Absolutely.
I mean, I hear the same. I hear like the A twice at the beginning. Is that what I'm hearing? And then the B section, and then that section at the end. Is that what you're calling the C, where it builds? Is that the format?
Yeah, you'll find if you go back to the very first video, it's super clear to see because I actually loop that piano part 3 times. And
Right.
so you can really see, and then at the very end, I actually do a little extra tag thing, but it's very clear. There's A, there's the B, there's the C. And then as we've built to the end product now, you're probably finding that it's very blended together, but it does have a rise. And if you're following that main rhythm piano, you're like, oh, it just goes back to the beginning. Like if I was learning the piano and I'm like, what are they doing in that song? You're like, it just repeats 3 times. Wow. You know,
What makes that last section C as opposed to A? I mean, is it just the arrangement around the piano that is different, or
yes, actually, yes. So I think I know what you're saying. It really could be called A, right? Because it's the same
right?
thing. I call it ABC because it's just constantly building. So the A section is the same throughout, but then so it's just a different way to kind of like look at it. But what makes that C is the strings come in, the violins are in there, the high pitched violins are in there. I do another melody with the guitars that come in there. The snares are more on the 2 and the 4. They kind of hold back the whole song until they hit every 4, I think. But then towards the very, very, very end, it's snares on the beat. So snare, 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 you know. So it kind of like just constantly builds to that. So those were the differences that make the C section. But what you're saying is correct as well. Like, isn't it? Could it be called AAA? But I call it ABC because you could actually call it AB, ABC because it's the same code. It's like a stepping like I totally look at it like steps going up 3 steps. You know, you got the next section, and trailers do that as well. And they might have that one motive, or they actually might change. They might actually have some trailers have like a cover at the beginning for 30 seconds, like just a soft cover of some fast song or something, and then it changes and goes to something else, and then it goes to a very trailerized piece of music or something. So sometimes they actually cut up 3 different songs. And so in this case, it's yeah, A, but I call them ABCs because of the build.
It's the build, yeah, the build
Yeah.
and the dynamics and the arrangement. Yeah. There's a similarity there, but it does, you can feel the difference at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Gotcha,
good
gotcha.
question. It's good. Yeah, it's good. That's the way I look at it. And as soon as you understand that, you're like, oh yeah, 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 I know it. I can do that as well. And these ones are really easy to do because yeah, if you go back to the first one, it's kind of, it's really. Tom says it good too. Small, medium, and large. Yep, absolutely of the same motive. Yep, that's a great way to say it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's good. I mean, it was interesting to hear it, laid out that way, ABC as opposed to ABA, but with a variation. But I see what you're saying though.
Yeah, and that could be a little bit of a Steve theory as well. Like I haven't heard of anyone say ABC. In the trailer world, they talk about um uh acts. They say first act, second act, third act, but I haven't heard anyone say ABC. And that's great, Gary. I know you're already poking holes in it. So I don't know. Maybe my theory needs maybe I need to reinvent my theory. But
No, but I think what you're saying makes sense. Act 1, 2, and 3. That's what the
yeah,
trailer. Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. Yeah, it
yeah.
sounds right.
It's
Thanks.
it's oh, absolutely. And like it, love it, gotta have it. Absolutely. That's it. Um the thing is cool. If you go back to the very first one, when you're playing those parts, unless you've done a few of these tracks, it sounds so like I do not know how you're going to get a triumphant piece out of this as I'm doing the piano. And so when you watch the first ones, it's just really interesting. Who's watched the first one? I'm curious. Okay, yep. Did you feel that, Jackie, a little bit? It's like, how is this gonna be big? It's like, oh, looks like you might be muted or your mic's not on or something. But that's right. Yeah, it just, but that's the whole point. You're layering all these things, and then you're saving. Okay, I'm gonna do the piano. I know that's kind of very simple. The next one is when the drums come in. The next one, and they're really fun to do, and they do get used a bit. And when they get used, there's always a nice fee because it's in the advertising world. People spend money on advertising. You know, anyone who's knows a bit about the sync, you know, trailers pay the most, advertising pays next, and then, you know, film and TV kind of pay the next tier down. And so um,
Can I ask one other quick question too?
yes, absolutely. Yep.
As far as the sounds, I know you said strings, drums, bass, and piano. Is brass used at all? Like, you know, as a sort of a background instrument or lead instrument at all?
You could use some brass. Brass is a hard one to get good. Like brass and strings, like I've been doing this for over nearly 15 years. Actually, it'll be, yeah, about 14 years. And I'm still a little bit shy with using brass and strings just because they're so easy to just to not do well. And I even had a piece of music sent to me for submissions for Imaginary Friends Music Partners, and it was a brass. He said it was all live brass, but I it didn't sound like it. Didn't It was like whatever these processed it. And so brass is a tricky one. I personally say avoid it. Avoid it till later on. Avoid brass and strings as much as you possibly can. And I believe that so much that obviously with strings I'm still learning to play violin myself. Like I recorded violin strings just the other day, and it's like I've been practicing for 6 months pretty much every day to get to the point to actually record it. And it's like, wow, you need to practice even more. You probably need to double what you've done just to get some long held out notes really nice. But it did sound really nice. I needed to tune it up with Melodyne because I was out of tune. But those strings sounded really nice. And if I had the time, I'd probably do it on this track. But in saying that, I still haven't done much with brass myself personally, and I play basic trumpet, and it's too scary. So, and saying that, just keep that in mind, that you know, if you're going for some of the harder or the most criticized or the most critical things, because you hear it at so many events. People are like, "Oh, your brass needs tweaking," or you know, and it's like they don't ever say that about. Well, it's not that they don't ever, but guitars and pianos, they don't pick that apart as much because maybe there's a little bit more range. Like you could have this kind of piano sound here, and that was your choice. And you know, maybe it's more range, but the brass is a little bit more like you either get it good or you didn't get it at all. And I've so anyway, so take that what it is. That's my philosophy on brass. But coming back to your question, you can use other instruments, absolutely. I would probably do another one like this on acoustic guitar. Instead of the piano, I'd do an acoustic guitar and maybe have piano at the end, just going dun, dun, or maybe some high notes, din, 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 din. Instead of a strings, maybe do dun, 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 like kind of building that sound. You could do, you know, pianos and guitars are probably the main ones to kind of hold out that rhythm section. You could do brass stabs. You could do stabs towards the end where it's like dun dun dun, or like dun dun dun, or I don't know, maybe trumpets, or you know, you could add it, maybe blend it in or something so it's not too out there, and just use that as more and more of that energy. But yeah, those are the main instruments. You can get away with, it's not getting away with it, but as long as you've got the ABC format, you guys can use a lot of different instruments. It's pretty broad.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, no worries, absolutely. And yeah, so have fun with this one, guys, and absolutely. And yeah, it's a good one. It'll be a good album. Awesome. All right, well, have a great rest of your night. I know it's getting late for some people, and but we'll see you guys in the social medias. All right, see ya.